and welcome to Desi in Design.
Whoa.
If you're new here, I'm your host, Sravya Attaluri. I'm a creative director and illustrator based in London. And on this podcast, I chat with other South Asian creatives about their career journeys, challenges, and triumphs. Today, I'm joined by Hash, a London-based motion designer and 3D artist celebrated for his bold, vibrant creations and a career spanning over a decade in the industry. In this episode, we explore his inspiring journey from studying engineering to discovering his true passion for motion design. Hash shares how he navigated cultural expectations, refined his design skills, and built a thriving freelance career collaborating with global brands. He also reflects on the importance of representation, his passion for personal projects, and how he's helping elevate South Asian creatives. Let's dive in. Hi, Hash.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
I would love to get an introduction from you.
I am a motion designer and 3D artist, and I've been freelancing for around 10, 11 years in the industry, advertising, broadcast, TV, and yeah, I've sort of leaned into 3D art, I would say more so the last few years. And it's just really, the game is about creating art, putting it out there. If I can collab with some cool studios, agencies, brands, that's all an added benefit. But sure, just like making art and seeing where it goes.
And where are you based?
I'm in East London, born and bred. Yeah, I love it. It's like just a bit crazy, bit intense sometimes, but I think that fits being in that sort of creative environment where there's a lot going on and a lot of different people to meet.
Yeah. I think East London has always been very creative, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the like hip, edgy area.
Yeah,
Depends on the Shoreditch or whatever. But yes, it's definitely my favorite part of London.
So I would love to start off with a rapid fire round because I feel like it's a good, fun way to get started.
Yeah.
Would you rather work early in the morning or late at night?
Late at night.
Okay. Dream studio location, beachside, mountains, or right in the heart of the city?
Heart of the city.
East London.
Yeah, East London.
Love that. If you could only use one emoji to describe your work, which one would it be?
I think it would be the big eyes emoji, the two big eyes.
Oh, like looking to the side?
Yeah, looking to the side.
Okay,
yeah.
sassy.
That's so sassy. But also in all of my art, I actually put like eyes in them. I don't know why.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Every single thing that I create has like these big character eyes that I like to put in.
Ooh. Do you know why? Or it's just you're drawn to it?
I don't know. I'm just drawn to it. It's weird. I started doing like character stuff a few years ago. And then the eye became like the thing that I just like to animate and like put in. And yeah, it just gave something to it. I don't know what it is.
It's very human.
Yeah, I guess
right?
so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun and I can like animate it and I can give a piece character by putting those eyes in and it depends which way it's looking or whatever.
Yeah, very cool. If you're only allowed to use one software for all your projects forever, which one would it be?
It'll be Cinema 4D.
Okay.
Yeah, just be in 3D, which is like my favorite thing to do. So I'll just stay in there and create.
Yeah, I've tried. I've downloaded it. It is so complicated, especially for someone switching from like Adobe. Yeah. I feel like I couldn't navigate it. I've done the 3D donut blender thing multiple times. Yeah, I've never gone past it.
I think, do you know what? People say that to me, but I genuinely think if you spend like a weekend and maybe give yourself like 5-6 hours just learning the super basics, it is quite easy to grasp. It's just the 3D space is hard for people to understand because you can get a bit lost with the cameras and the different like axes and perspectives. But if you're used to using like most design programs, it's pretty easy. And it's like molding and sculpting. I think people make it feel more complicated than it is. But it's literally like when you're a kid and you're like chucking different shapes together. That's like the basis of any sort of like 3D modeling.
Right. Is there math involved?
There can be, yeah. There can be a lot of math involved when you come to like simulations and dynamics and all these kind of things. But it's nothing that like can't be worked out because they try and make it as simple as possible and like as fun and easy to use.
Okay, interesting. I can't wait to ask you more questions about that.
Yeah.
So last question, describe your dream client or dream project.
I've been super lucky to work on a bunch of stuff, I would say, in my career. I think I'm at the point now where maybe it's a bit more about like scale. So like having work that lives somewhere. I think most of my work has been so digital and it can kind of get lost in like an Instagram feed or like on like a brand's channel or something. I think maybe if it lives somewhere, it'll be incredible. So like on a billboard, or even if it's turning like a 3D piece into a physical 3D piece would be incredible. Right. So some sort of project along that. I don't really have like a brand or a specific, I don't have like a brand or
like anyone. A concept.
Yeah. It's more like I just want it to be somewhere where it's available and accessible for as many people.
Yeah, that's quite a fresh mindset to look at projects and like career growth, because scale is such a good concept to like consider.
Yeah, I think you want it to be seen by as many people. And I like the idea of being able to like go somewhere and be like, hey, look, that's mine. Rather than have to like, show it on like the screen somewhere. And being a digital artist, that's always been the downsides of what I do, is I have to like show it on a screen somewhere to someone for them to understand what I actually do. So for it to live somewhere would be incredible.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm with you on that. I feel like it's a bigger deal to have it in a physical space. You know? Before we dive into all the cool stuff you've done, I would love to kind of understand a little bit about your background. Who was Hash as a young kid?
Oh, God. I was I think your typical like South Asian quiet kid from an ethnic family. Yeah, came over, my parents in like the 80s, so didn't have a lot of money. Grew up in East London, where it was thankfully quite diverse, so was able to like, find friends and not have too many issues like that, and had like a community around me. And I guess I was kind of always artistic without knowing it. So I definitely did better in any sort of creative class. But I just didn't know that was a thing that I wanted to do, or it was accessible to me, or could be a job career. So just kind of went through school like normal, and I guess got to college. I was actually meant to be an engineer. Wow. Which is crazy. I was meant to be an electronic engineer. Whoa. Is what I went to study. Wasn't a passion of mine. Oh, I had like an interest in it. I think my dad wanted me to do that. I think it's a typical thing of like, we need an engineer in the family. Yeah. One at least. And all my brothers do IT. There were 3 older brothers I've got, so definitely had to sort of live up to their expectations as well. And me being the youngest. But then, just like after a couple of months, figured out it's not for me, came home crying. And then I was lucky enough that the college allowed me to stay in the college and pick something else. And I always had an interest in media and art and design. Still didn't know what I wanted to do. The only courses left were like media studies, film studies. There were these few courses left, and so went to do that and kind of just got into it and found that like, actually, this is fun. I started editing video. I started learning how to use Final Cut Pro. It's like the early editing software. And then from then I guess it just like rolled on. And it's like, okay, actually, this is something I'm really interested in. I've always been artistic. Let's move this into more like digital design, art, animation. And this sort of just progressed and pushed forward from there.
Was there a point where you knew you didn't want to be an engineer anymore?
I think I secretly probably didn't want to in the first place.
Really?
Yeah, and I think I just did it because I thought it was a good thing to do. Because there was, growing up, you just don't hear of a South Asian artist. Yeah. And for sure, when I had art class or whatever in school or in secondary school, there was nobody that looked like me. There was nobody that represented a person like myself. So then you don't have that path set ahead of you. So I guess I was just like, okay, no, that's fine. But there's definitely a lot of, South Asian engineers and people working in those type of fields. And I just thought that was probably what I needed to go and do. And, the focus was just going and finding a job, getting, once you leave college or whatever. But I think secretly there was a little thing of like, I work better in the creative classes. And in hindsight, I was definitely someone that was a lot more creative growing up.
And at home, did your family and like your friends like support that and encourage that?
It was just seen as like play, maybe.
As long as it wasn't like, I'm gonna take your watercolors away and give you like a Kumon or something.
No. I was actually fortunate like that. That was fine. My parents were very busy working, like a lot of ethnic parents, and their focus was for sure on like just getting homework done and whatever, and just excelling and making sure I was doing good in school. And thankfully, I was a good kid. But I just found creatively after that was the thing that I wanted to do. And college was a turning point because it's just before you're like leaving to become an adult and going to the real world, and there's no longer forced education. And I think I was very fortunate to kind of fall into that media studies class and the film studies class and find, this is actually like a cool thing that I enjoy doing. How can I do this? And then took it forward to university.
Right. I assume you always had an interest in film as well?
Yeah, I think film was really big. Animation was quite big. Without me knowing, I used to watch a lot of cartoons like most kids do. And I guess I just had an interest in them and how things moved and how things were drawn. I used to try and always like replicate stuff myself. So if I saw a cartoon, I'd try and draw the main character. And yeah, I guess I had that interest without knowing and sort of just lean into it as the older I
Right.
got.
And when you went home and told your parents you were going to switch, were they supportive?
They didn't understand it. And it's something I still tell to this day. And I don't think my mom gets it. My dad was a bit like angry, but he was fine with it as long as you get to stay on at college and you're not doing anything. But my mom told me something, and my mom is Indian Gujarati. She's, from back home and came over here. They came in the 80s. It was very hard for them to assimilate, I guess, in the UK. So our relationship was very interesting growing up as like a second generation like immigrant kid, but she kind of got it in a way weirdly, and she was just like, do what makes you happy. And I hold that to this day. It's like so important to me. It's like whenever things are tough, it's like, wait, just do what makes you happy. And she said that to me, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll go and do this. When I started out in the industry, they still didn't get what I did. But then once I started doing it, once I started making enough money and being able to pay bills, and then they were able to see the work, I could tell my mom, look, this is what I created. Then I think they started to get it.
I think it makes so much sense to have the support of my parents. Gives me so much mental peace. I don't know if you would agree.
Yeah.
For me to like go and pursue. Otherwise, it's like an additional battle,
Yeah.
right? To go against the grain when you know your parents don't support you.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. And there's so many artists out there young artists who probably just don't know that that's a thing that they can do, and they're saying their parents and families maybe don't understand them. Like, oh, what are you doing? Just drawing or whatever. And it's like, no, the world's different. We need creatives more than ever. We need artists. We need musicians. Whatever it is, like the world is a very different place now. Digital media is everything. There's a place for everyone, and I think as long as you're passionate, you can turn it into something. And especially for a lot of us South Asians, it's like such an important thing. Just not restricting kids and other people, for how our parents did it to us, I think is important.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I'm quite curious, actually, since you studied it at a university level, do you think it's required?
Yeah, so interesting that is. Because I speak to like graduates and animation students now, and it is a bit different how things work now. Because there's so many more like online courses and like tutorials. When I started out, there was barely anything online. If you wanted to find something, I had to go to my university library, find like a computer arts magazine.
Whoa.
Which was like a old like magazine where they would just talk about like different projects that people are doing in the industry, and then have like a CD in the back of it.
No way.
And then you have to like put that CD in, or have like a short 30-minute tutorial or something. And that was it. There wasn't much resources out there, 15 years ago. Obviously now you have YouTube. I mean, I see tutorials and stuff on like TikTok and Instagram, content creators putting stuff out there. So it's a different world, and there's a lot more online courses, a lot more short courses. It's hard for like the creative field. I don't know if university is necessarily needed. I definitely think you need to learn like the basics of design and art, but I don't know if you need to go and study it anymore. I think you can kind of learn the software and learn the practice in your own time. It's a bit of a difficult one. I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
And the routes that they want to go down.
Yeah, I would agree. Everything is online. You can find resources. It's very accessible now, right? You don't have to pay huge fees.
Yeah.
But there are other benefits, right? Like being surrounded by creatives, and that, I don't know how long your course was, but mine was 4 years of training of like living like an artist, working like an artist.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of sets you ahead, because having to do it by yourself, it will take you much longer to get there and have that training of like soft skills.
Yeah, for sure. And I think having to learn how to work with other art like creatives when you're at university and you're doing like teamwork courses or like a project or whatever, that was important, because it definitely translated to when I went into the industry, because you have different artists and creatives coming together, and you all have like a different way of thinking, and what you think subjectively is like good art or whatever. And having to learn how to like communicate your ideas in a constructive way was quite important within like a group setting. So stuff like that is very important as well. But then hopefully like short courses and even getting some form of like industry experience under your belt.
Yeah.
If it's like internships early on, stuff like that would be important if you don't go through that route of higher education to learn like art and design. That is actually true. It's a big part of it is having to work with other people.
Yeah. And of course, building your portfolio, right? If your portfolio is not where it needs to be, I guess it's the same as without the course.
Yeah, for sure. The reason why I kind of got into the industry so fast as well was because I spent my university, my last year, like kind of prepping my portfolio, ready to leave. I made sure my like final major project I had to do was really heavily about motion design and 3D art, because I knew that's what I kind of wanted to go into. And yeah, I kind of like prepped it in a year in advance. So as soon as it was like the end of the year for the third year where you're leaving and we have like that big design degree show.
Yeah.
I had like an older student tell me, well, that's where all the agencies and studios will come to like try and, I guess, poach young talent. And that's exactly how I got into the industry. Someone saw my work at the degree show and then I was going in to do like a junior motion design job the next week.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did your university prep you for the industry? Like, did they teach you how the industry works, agents, agencies, all of that stuff?
No, not then. I think it was definitely an old school course and way of thinking back then. I know it's changed a fair bit since then.
Okay.
Industry practice is like almost a course in itself from what I've seen and spoken to like my old lecturers and stuff like that. But I think back then it was still a little bit slow in terms of prepping you for like the real world and what's going to actually happen. All that stuff is stuff that you kind of had to just learn on the job.
Yeah. And then it makes the art field seem very unattainable or almost elitist because it was like people who already came in with networks got jobs.
Yeah.
And otherwise it's a secret. Like there is no clear pathway.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was I think that's why a lot of, sadly, people that I studied with probably didn't make it out in the same way that I did because there wasn't like a given path. Hopefully it's changed a lot more now.
Yeah, I think so. And like us talking about it, I hope helps, you
know?
Yeah. So I would love to kind of understand a little bit more about motion graphics and 3D, like the industry that you're in. Could you explain the different niche pathways you could go into and like which one you're in?
Yeah. So it's like the whole range of stuff. I originally wanted to, coming from like a film background in college, I thought I wanted to go into like the VFX industry. But thankfully I sort of found the advertising industry was suited best for me. It depends what you really want to, what you feel like doing and what you want to work on. I preferred working on like shorter projects and working with brands rather than maybe like if I was to go into the VFX industry, you're kind of locked down for like 9 months working on something. You might not be able to talk about it, or it's a secret for a long time, or even if the film gets canned and stuff like that, like you just don't know what will happen. So I just chose to work on going to the advertising industry. And when I got into it, I guess it was just social media heavy. It was all about like Instagram and Facebook and just getting content out to people in like the best way, making sure that it was something that would pop on the feed. And I just sort of fell into that. And I've been doing that ever since. I think 3D is quite big right now, especially with a lot of the like CGI stuff where like you get products, people like to like composite like products in real life. Out there in the world. You've seen that. It's like super viral now.
Very trendy. Have you done some of those?
I've been asked to do a whole bunch of them. But they're quite like, actually it's a lot of work. And I think a lot of agencies and studios think like you can just record something on a phone and then like get a 3D artist to just like comp in your product or whatever, but it's a lot more work. So I was sort of trying to stay away from it. I think recently for me, thankfully, I've gone into more like TV broadcast as I do more like 3D animation, a little bit of product stuff, I guess. It's a range of things, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that you did Nickelodeon. How did that feel to like kind of, I guess you said you grew up watching cartoons and then finally get to work with them? Yeah,
that was like massive dream project, I guess. And what was incredible was that the team that I worked with and the studio that I went through, they saw my personal work, I guess, and my like characters I created in my own time, and just really loved what it was and saw it as like the vision for what they wanted to do with the awards for this year. And it kind of just all fit. And it was just like an incredible project. It's amazing to work with the Nickelodeon IP because it's such a like massive thing that everyone knows. And yeah, I used to watch the show, like the awards growing up.
Yeah, with
all
the slime.
slime and stuff like that. And yeah, I was like recreating slime for like months on end.
So iconic.
Yeah, and it was just really fun. And it's definitely, I would say, like a career highlight.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was one of those where the start of the show, the first 15 seconds was the piece that I put together for them. And that starts off the whole award ceremony. And
That's
yeah,
amazing.
out there,
yeah.
lives there. And yeah, it was just such a fun project to work on.
Did your parents get to see it?
I might have shown my parents, but because and the awards is in America, I couldn't watch it live because of the timing. But yeah, I got some like clips online, and the agency sent them to me. But it was all over social media, which is cool. And yeah, it's just nice to see it like out in the world after working on it for so long.
Was that client like straight through your portfolio or through like an agent, if you don't mind sharing?
So it's a studio here called Studio Morris. They were tasked to do it, and they found me via my portfolio, I guess. Probably looking for a 3D artist that fit within the brief.
Yeah.
And they just sort of reached out, and that's how most of my work comes about, is through outreach of like seeing my work online or on social media.
Right.
But predominantly my work comes through just like having experience, I guess, and having worked with so many different people. You just get recommended around. I often tell people like the industry is actually very small, especially here in London. If you've worked with like one person, they've worked with probably someone that you've worked with, and it all like everything comes around in circles. Everyone kind of works with each other. It's hard to get your foot in the door, but once you do, it's like a great place to be. London is just so like, it's so busy and there's just so much going on. Even though I've got like 11 years experience, there's still times where things are a little bit quiet, and it's like totally okay to just reach out to, and I'm on LinkedIn and come across a studio or a creative director that's posting some whatever posts about the work that they've done. Just hit them up and be like, hey, I love that campaign you worked on. This is what I do. Let's grab a coffee. Let's have a Zoom chat quickly. Like, I would love to work with you guys someday. And I think that outreach is so important, and artists just don't do that enough. And when I hear this from other freelancers a lot, it's like, work's dried up. There's nothing coming in. I'm like, okay, did you like get yourself out there? Did you like, I don't know, get on LinkedIn, post your work? I think a lot of people like sit and wait for the perfect opportunity to come by. And it's like, no, you literally have to make it, especially in the industry where there's so many people that are looking for work and so many people that probably do what you do, and you having to like get out of that noise and crowd to be like, hey guys, here I am. It's hard, but I think it's important. You need to put yourself out there. It's so easy to just sit back and think like the perfect opportunity will come by.
Yeah. I wanted to switch gears and I guess on the same topic, ask you a little bit about the networking events that you put together for South Asians.
Yeah.
What was the idea behind that? And yeah, can you share a little bit more?
Yeah, so I help run sort of a volunteer for Brown Ink, which is a super cool creative putting together South Asian designers and artists and just coming together and having like a meetup space to talk about work and do like speed networking as well. And it's actually run by Rajam and Wujia, incredible power couple who've been running the event for about a year. I've been just helping out with them with their London sort of arm and helping out, and it's been incredible. It's been so fun like meeting other brown creatives, and for the first time in my life, like being in a room full of other South Asians who all have like a similar journey, and everyone's at a different point as well. Some people are just starting out, they're students, some people are a lot more experienced. It's so different to what I see in the industry. Like most places that I go into, I'm the only South Asian or I'm the only ethnic minority. So walking into a room full of all these like incredible people who have shared like similar journeys to you is like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like we do exist.
Yeah.
It's just like getting people out there and getting them in front of the right people. And yeah, it's been like refreshing and amazing. It's like I never used to go to networking events and stuff because I never felt seen maybe. And you just feel like, oh, I don't know, are they gonna accept me? So being a part of a community has been like super cool and nice and refreshing.
That sounds really wonderful. And I definitely need to come to some of these events. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Speaking about, going to networking events other than South Asian ones, most of the events I'm sure have been like predominantly white. Yeah. Right? How did you navigate those? Like, did you ever feel like imposter syndrome?
Oh, all the time, especially starting out. Diversity and inclusion wasn't like a big thing.
Yeah.
10, 11 years ago. and especially on like design panels and like design and art like festivals, they would not make sure it was like a diverse range of artists sharing their work or whatever. So it was very hard, and yeah, I guess I didn't ever feel like I was seen, and it's taken a long time for myself to even realize, actually, okay, there's a space and opportunity for me to start putting myself out there, because I know I needed someone like myself who I could have seen and be like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. That, I guess I'm like making up for that now and trying to put myself out there more and more. But for sure, in the start, it was super hard. You don't feel as welcome. And advertising in general was a bit of like an old boys club back in the days, it felt. And it was, like
I think
Mad
it still
Men.
is.
It still is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it that still is like that. But it is changing. And as we like show up and show that what we're about, and it's, yeah, people are a bit more aware of, like, here's the like big term and whatever, like diversity and inclusion stuff. Most agencies and places do it for like a week. They have their like diversity week or whatever. But I think people are seeing more like, yeah, we need to have a range of people from all these different places who have different experiences, who bring different ways of working together.
I agree. Representation is so important, right? Because you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah.
So growing up, or I guess in your early careers, did you see like agents, creative directors that were South Asian?
No, I don't think so. Not at all, really. Even the old art books that you look at.
Yeah.
So like white guys. I mean, my like favorite artist was Keith Haring.
Me too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a tattoo.
No way. Yeah. Everything in my house, all the home decor is Keith Haring.
Oh my God. And
I'll send you pictures. But literally, yeah.
The thing is, the Keith Haring Foundation, I love them, but they do put their name on everything.
Everything, yeah.
Literally, if you go...
I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Everything. So some people are like, oh, your tattoo's from this. I'm like, no, it's like, it's not. They think it's like a brand or something. It's like, no, it's an artist. Yeah. But fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, going back to the industry, were there any mentors that supported you along the way?
No, I don't think so. I was fortunate that when I left the industry, the first few people and studios I worked with. So the first like industry practice I ever had, I left uni. I worked for like a small production company, and there was just a lot of like great editors and like cameramen and filmmakers and directors, and sort of just learnt from them. I guess you just like feed off of being in that environment. But I never really had like a mentor or anyone per se. I just had to do like the best with the people around me and just like be a sponge and just learn as much as you can. And definitely in the early days, it was a lot about going to these like networking events and being in London, like just showing up to like whatever exhibitions going on, just like going in and checking out what's happening, chatting to people.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip, to just make sure you're getting out there and not really, I guess, searching for that like one support type and just using what you have.
Yeah. Especially when you're like starting out, it's easy to try and like be like, this is what I want to do. This is the kind of person I want to be. This is the kind of art I want to make. Whereas I think it's good to just like try it all almost and just like go and learn from anyone and everyone. I didn't think I would go into 3D art. I thought I'd stick in like 2D animation, but just going to like design festivals and stuff and seeing 3D art. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Let me try that out now. So you never know when you go to these places, like what can inspire you, and your journey is always like progressive and changing, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's so important to kind of be more than just the skill set that you have, right? I think before it worked, but now brands and clients are looking for the artist more. The like, who are you behind the, artwork itself? And
it's hard, and like it's a balance.
Yeah.
Or like a juggling act actually. Of trying to like make the cool stuff, get yourself out there, sell yourself, especially as a freelancer. It's so difficult because you don't know when your next gig's coming in.
Yeah.
So you're just constantly having to like promote yourself and find new ways to like show up. And the more I progress, obviously you get more experience, but now there's like a new generation of talent.
Yeah.
So there's like younger artists that are coming through who are a lot better than me, and they're learning things faster, or they're like picking up a new program that I haven't done yet. And so it's like you're always trying to like innovate and just get yourself out there.
Do you still take courses and like keep learning things?
I try and do tutorials as much as possible. It's a bit tougher now because of like time, but yeah, you still do need to keep up to date, especially as like a 3D artist when things are changing so much and the technology is changing so fast. I'm getting asked to do a lot more different stuff. Like interactive design is bigger than ever now.
Right.
So I'm getting asked to do more like augmented reality 3D design stuff.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, I need to learn this new skill set of like programs and how to think in that way for the brands. Like, so yeah, it's always changing.
Do you still do passion projects, or is it just mostly client work now?
No, a lot of passion projects still. I still try and do the like 50-50.
Wow.
As much as I can.
Yeah.
It's very hard. It means that you spend a lot of evenings and weekends and early mornings working on like side stuff. But I think it's important. It keeps me going doing like personal projects.
Yeah.
Because I would still be doing this if I wasn't like making a living off of it. I think I'd still be making art regardless. But yeah, like the client work is not always going to be like the fun stuff. There's so much stuff I do that never gets seen or whatever. So making sure I'm like staying creative in my own way and on, doing my own projects is so important.
So in terms of future, what are you currently working on and what are your goals?
I think just continuing like progressing with like the character world that I created and the style that I'm working with, this fun, colourful, playful world. I guess just like pushing that forwards more, trying to get more brands and studios and people to invest in that and want to work with me as like a collaboration. I've been doing this for such a long time. The industry is always changing. And so I can never like put a specific goal out there. Every year it's like, okay, cool, we just survived another year of freelance. So
how far ahead do you plan?
Not like a crazy amount, but like 2-3 months ahead, I'll try and be like, okay, I want to be able to do this and and hopefully work for this amount of time so I can like save up enough money to like be able to take a bit of time off to work on some side projects or whatever. But as a freelancer and as like running your own business and stuff, yeah, it's just like hopefully you can just keep it going for as long as possible. You just never know.
As long as you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, for sure. That's the most important thing. Just pushing out like what you want to do and having fun, I think, is the most important thing. It's easy to get like wound up in, I want to work for this person, I want to do this thing or whatever. If you're not having fun, what's the point of it?
Yeah, I love your lighthearted approach.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to like navigate things,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you just got to have fun. I think that's the aim of the game.
Yeah, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
No worries.
This has been so much fun.
For sure.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Be sure to follow Hash on Instagram at Hashmukh to stay up to date with his latest work. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who would appreciate it. Stay connected for updates on new episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and creative industry insights by following us on social media or joining our newsletter at desianddesign.com. That's all for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.